you literally have more chance of winning the lottery than hitting $1 million trade on Pump.fun. Now, I'm not lying. These are the cold hard facts that have came out of the data from the past 6 months. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't any opportunity in the market. There's an awful lot of opportunity. It's just not here. So today we're going to go through the stats, have a little look at what this airdrop could mean, if it's worth sticking around for, if you're just continually going to be farmed, and where the opportunities are, where the smart money's moving, where I'm kind of laying my chips now. Because it has been fun, it's been great, but all good things come to an end, and I'm going to show you why your time, effort, and capital is better spent elsewhere. What we'll first do is back up my opening statement, because I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, well, I've seen lots of influencers, they're all making $20 million a year, they're all trading these meme coins, and everyone's doing really, really well. I will caveat this by saying I don't necessarily think Solana is dead at all. I'm still a long-term Solana bull. I just think the opportunity has been completely decimated on Pump.fun, and there's a few reasons for that. But let's get into the numbers first and actually back up these inflammatory statements, some might say. So life revenue of Pump is absolutely incredible. It was the fastest business on earth to $100 million. And I believe Axiom has hit those numbers as well, which is truly, truly impressive. It shows just the appetite for trading and people wanting to actually find stuff early and trade and, try and drag themselves out of whatever economic situation that they're in. I think that's the kind of like sad, dark underbelly reality of it. So 742, I think it's ticked over at 743 since I started making these slides. That's a shit ton of revenue, right? That is so much money for a product. So that is obviously showing product market fit. That's incredible. But that's all well and good for them because just a kind of quick TLDR, tokens launch on Pump.fun for a very, very small fee. Anyone can launch a token for better or for worse, but it's shown that it's been hugely popular over the past year or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. The graduation trend, so tokens that make it from Pump to previously Radium and now onto PumpSwap, looks a little bit like this. So the weekly graduation is going down from, it's been all the way up at 1.67 and it's continually in this downtrend. Percentage of weekly graduation rate. So you're not going to start doing TA on this trend line, but it doesn't necessarily look good. And coupled with that, volume is dropping off as well. So trend is your friend until it isn't. Coupled with that, you best know someone. I'm going to call this the slide here because the data shows that the graduation time range, a whopping 38% happens in under the first 5 minutes. So it doesn't take a genius to work out that either you have to be sat on this thing all day, every day, which some people are, don't get me wrong. Some people have made some significant money, particularly in the early days. I think less so now. And you also have, like, to side point, you also have people that trade pre-bonded tokens and only pre-bonded tokens. So they will only trade tokens that are on Pump.fun. Once it graduates, they're not interested. That is that is a game in and of itself. And I think it's kind of reflective of where people's attention spans are globally, not just kind of like in a trading environment. It's like hyper microcap scalping, which is, a skill form in and of itself. So that has to kind of be taken into account. But either the tokens are obvious and they're going to bond and it's just like, that's that. Or again, the title of the micro slide is you best know someone. So the odds are not in your favor unless you're in the know, in my opinion, with regards to this, and the data kind of backs it up. So it would kind of hint at the fact that a lot of people know that this is gonna go live on Pump and it's gonna have a lot of significant capital behind it to actually get it to bond. And then, as you'd expect, it's 5 to 30 minutes, so they're either going to bond or they're not. Now that can be left to your interpretation, but that's the way I'm going to interpret it. Now for the hard truths. So these are the stats from the last 6 months. So if we just zoom in for a second, the no wallet has hit over $1 million profit. From 100K to 1 million USD, 0.1% of wallets have hit that. So even just from that one liner alone, there's way more opportunities that are in even the larger cap tokens than to actually achieve those figures. Like, is it really worth the time, effort, and everything spent? Only 100k to $1 million worth of profit is being made by 0.1% of wallets. That just doesn't seem it doesn't seem worthwhile in my opinion. 10 to 100k is 1.1%. Again, you can be churning that out every single day if you know what you're doing. Profit 1 to 10k, 4.5%. So, and then profit 0 to 1k is 21.7%. So some people might be happy with that, but that's wallets over the last 6 months, 180 days. It's not they're not real, they're not great numbers in anyone's stretch of the imagination. So, and then the other side of that, the losses, the are quite compounded at and consolidated at the 0 to 1k range. So 56.4% are losing between 0 and 1k. So maybe this is a lot of people just coming on, trying it for, I don't know, 50, 20, 30, $40. But again, you're just going to get eaten alive. And then the 1 to 10k range is 5.2%. That's quite significant, in my opinion. Continue to lose that amount of money. It's not really, it's not great. And then there are some 46 wallets that have lost over $1 million. There's a loss of 100k to 1 million. Again, 1,651 wallets. This is significant money. And then there's been losses of 10 to 100k for 0.7% of the users. Like, yes, you get losses in any market, and you can get, look at James Wynn. that's a exaggerated example of that, but you know, the odds are not in your favor. And why I think this is, in my opinion, people have had it too good for too long with Pump. What has happened is it is pretty much a one-dimensional product, right? Token launches, hits a set of market cap bonds. That is a situation which is extremely gamified and figured out really, really quick because the variables aren't changing. All that's changing is it turns into this cat and mouse game of, can the bots find the tokens that are worth buying early, or just simply buying as many of them as physically possible as soon as they go on to Pump? Because there's a lot of that happening, and I'll show you what that looks like in a sec. And then it's just like bot v bot on how little can you actually worthwhile to perform that strategy. It's all scripts. It's not manually being won by the average punter on there, and it's pretty sad state of affairs for anyone who wants to go on there who's been promised riches by people on YouTube or further afield, right? And don't get me wrong, there are people who've done well, and they'd love for this game to continue because they make money off their referrals and their private discords and their tools and issues. I will caveat this again by saying there has been opportunity here in the past. There isn't anymore. And I just want to kind of like put that out there because I don't want people to come into this space seeing a lot of headlines about Pump.fun and then seeing an airdrop and being like, oh, well, it's going to be worthwhile. Because again, I don't know how clearly I put it. The stats are just totally not in your favor. And you're only going to hear about the people who hit big because they're the people who shout from the rooftops. And just to go through it, like 6.8 million tokens launched in the last 6 months. So 71,000 have graduated, not 1.05%, right? So go and sit on there and buy 100 tokens. You're going to get one that graduates. Not great odds in my opinion. And the volume over that last 6 months was around 24 billion. So that's why we're in this state of which we are. The obvious big announcement recently was the airdrop. So is it worth actually sticking around and using it? Is there going to be some form of continuation of using it that puts you in this certain criteria of getting the token? I'm going to show you why I think that's even wrapped up. And just to kind of round this section of the video off, you're not trading anymore, you're done it, and the odds are worse than the lottery. Categorically, right? What about my airdrop? So what do we know about this airdrop? So on Spaces, someone from the team has said it's going to be the biggest airdrop that Space has ever seen. So what are the biggest airdrops that Space has ever seen? Right. So Hyperliquid dropped 1.6 billion, 31% of the supply. That was seen as extremely large, but then the token did an 8x or whatever it was. So that, and it's currently, if you held on to it, the net valuation of the drop was over 10 billion. I think it might be significantly higher than that now, as it's touching all-time highs as I'm recording this video. So that's significant. Uni was around 6 billion at all-time highs. They airdropped like 400 tokens to everyone who used it. That was the glory days of airdrops, where it just landed in your wallet. You didn't have to kind of like dox your full family and do some like weird humiliation rituals to actually get the airdrop, which is what teams want to do now. It's weird, if you ask me. The rumors of the second airdrop on Hyperliquid, which I covered in the last video, and how to get exposure to that, could be even bigger, because of the price. They don't actually need to airdrop much of the token supply, which is, fucking wild, to be honest. So I went through that in the last video, so I'll leave that. It should be at the top now. Henry, if you can put that in, you should be able to see the top video in the top right now if you want to go and watch that after this, or I'll leave it in the description if you want to just video. What else do we know? So we know they're raising $1 billion at $4 billion fully diluted. And my opinion on this would be, if you haven't already got a strong volume profile or haven't been using this for, what are we at now? I think it was March last year when it launched. So past 14 months, you're not going to catch up. I don't care how much money you've got. You're not going to be able to catch up. So why you're not going to be able to catch up, even if you start now, is look at this. So the number of wallets who've traded over $100 million worth of volume that are excluding the bots is only 2 wallets. Right? You got to think these on Pump, they're not trading. I suppose this does account Pump Swap now as well, where you can actually put a little bit more size in. But that being said, $100 million worth of volume, only 2 wallets have achieved that. The rest that have achieved that have been bots. Right? So these are the size of the volumes that you'd be competing with if you wanted to do it purely based on volume being the criteria. All right, and then 10 million, there's only been 952 wallets. 1 million is around 12,000, 100K, 122,000. So the bulk coming in at 100 to 10K, and then there's like 3 million that is sat at around the 1K mark, right? So what I want to just do to give you a rough idea is, so this is a wallet that I've used quite a lot. Well, it's not obviously not $100 million worth, but 97 trades on there, $156,000 worth of volume, and that puts me at 98,000th rank, right? So based on, and you can go to this dashboard, so it's Adam Tech TEHC/pump-fun-alpha-wallets, and you can just paste your wallet here, and you can see your Pump Fun and Pump Swap volume. So 97 trades, $156,000 worth of volume, which isn't a lot, to be honest. What I did as soon as the social sign-in became available on Pump, where you can log in with Gmail, I just did that to kind of keep the wallets separate and prevent me from clicking too many links on different wallets and stuff like that, and not knowing what's approved and what's not. But apparently that puts me in top 0.5% aisle, so I don't know. But that would, I think there's probably another wallet that's in that realm as well. So based on that, you're in the top 0.5%. So if it's more than that, fair play, you're going to do really, really well, I think. If it's less than that, then I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that one out. But again, getting back to what the numbers could look like for that is raising 1 billion at 4 billion FDV, so selling 25% of the supply. Should they really raise? They made $750 million worth of volume, fastest business to those figures in the history of planet Earth. I can't really make my mind up on this. I don't necessarily see the point personally, but I'm not in their shoes. So it's all well and good me sitting here in an ivory tower saying I wouldn't raise, I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that. I'm never going to know that, because I'm never going to have a company that makes that much money that quickly. right? So all well and good to kind of say what you would do and what you wouldn't do, but until you put in the situation, you wouldn't have a clue what you were about to say. So let me know. I'd love to hear like some of the takes in the comments, because I'm still a little bit split on it. Like in one half of me wants to say, well, they can do what they want. This is the game. Go and do what you need to do. The other half says, like, have you not already won? Like, how much do you really need? Can you not just kind of put it on a not launch token and away you go? Token seems like a lot of headache for me personally, but what do I know? Another interesting stat about it is they are revenue per employee than OnlyFans, Nvidia, Cursor, Apple, Meta, Alphabet, Circle, OpenAI. The only two that are above it are Hyperliquid and Tether, revenue per employee. So that's that. If you think it's worth sticking around for, maybe putting some volume through Pump.fun, but you're gonna have to make that decision yourself. I don't personally think it's worth it. So again, you've got to factor in, if you were going to stick around, there's that 1.05% of Pump.fun volume, Pump.fun graduations that are actually going to make it to graduation. So again, this is the point of the whole video. It's like there's way better opportunities elsewhere, right? So what are those opportunities? So what you want to be doing is you want to be playing at the greener pastures. You want to be going to newer pastures, and you want to be playing at the stupid person's table. Right? You don't want to walk into a casino and go and play with the sharks, right? Because that's just stupid, and that's the situation that we're in currently with kind of Pump.fun. So how do you go about doing that? So what's been happening recently, and again, this title of this section is better, less crowded opportunities, because you're versing bots at the minute on Pump.fun, and that's just stupid. If you want to go and set all your money on fire, go for it. But you know the stats, you know the figures. Go and figure that one out for yourself. Where I think there's opportunities, which I've seen firsthand, which I've been involved in. Number one is Echo. So Kobe's fair launch, fair access crowdfunding platform. So echo.xyz, XYZ, wherever you come from. There's currently a lot of under the radar deals on there that are, yes, you have to KYC. But I think there's some really, really good opportunities. And the whole idea is to have pretty like-to-like deal flow for people who are going to invest on Echo versus whoever was in on the private rounds before that, maybe pre-seed, seed, and they're going to launch on Echo at Series A. It's supposed to level the playing field, and that's the whole ethos of the platform. So yeah, and one of the interesting things about it is the group leaders. So what it looks like, let me try and show you. Where is it? I'm not legally allowed to click on any of these because I think there's certain rules and regulations around the actual platform that prohibit discussing deals outside that haven't kind of like been activated yet. So you have group leaders. So the Economists, led by Echo, Coinbase Ventures have one, Comfy Capital through with Native Crypto, and then you can just join these, and then see what active deals are actually on there. And as I said, the group leaders aren't allowed to speak about these deals anywhere else other than Echo. That is one of the kind of regulations around it. So that's why it is kind of a weird and wonderful opportunity where if you are active on here and finding the deals before they actually go live, and you can kind of see the brief that the leaders are putting out and the terms that they're putting out and decide if you want to invest in them. Not everyone's speaking about them. There's no one's going to kind of like go, oh, there's this great opportunity on Echo. Let's tell everyone about it so they get allocation and I don't, because they are going to be limited, but you can at least get a fair opportunity at getting a valuation at a reasonable price. So yeah, that's a really, really good opportunity that, yes, people are speaking about. And obviously recording this, and last night, 500 million, $500 million was committed to the plasma round last night, which is a Bitcoin sidechain. If you look at the architecture of it, which is going to be used for USDT remittances and payments, which is backed by USDT Zero, which is basically Tether's venture arm. Basically, Tether involved with it. So basically, Tether chain going to try and steal that market. And so that happened last night. So there's some significant capital looking at this. And if you want to kind of follow where the smart money's going, you want to get equal opportunity, then that's a really, really good opportunity for you. So that's one. Despite what I've said about base in the past, and the whole coin it thing was just fucking stupid in my opinion. And Jesse looked like he was crashing out a little bit on the timeline. I just thought that was a bit stupid in my opinion, but who am I to judge? I think that's probably one of the hardest jobs in the industry. You're trying to build an ecosystem which is probably never going to have a token, let's be honest, and you're probably hamstrung on what you can and can't do because Coinbase is a publicly traded company. Although that might change, you never know. There's been a little bit of regulatory clarity and stuff like that, isn't there? So opportunities that you may or may not have missed over the past couple of days. Giza, it's this AI infrastructure and framework protocol. Casually did a 3x over the past couple of days. And we did actually cover it on Blockmates. So if you do, we don't just cover stuff for the sake of covering it on there, right? Like we cover stuff because there's good opportunity. And if you want to kind of stay in the weeds with it, you can kind of follow along on blockmates.com or follow our Twitter where we post everything anyway, which is blockmates, DOTCOM on Twitter, just like there's the handle there. So that was on base. Liquidity is available for that on base. Still relatively low market cap. I don't have a position, just kind of pointing it out. Kita, this thing is weird, but you can't deny since the turn of the year, it has gone up 39,500%. And those are like accurate numbers. I personally think that this is going to end in tears. I think and I think a lot of the supply has been bundled. So is it better than Pump.fun? No, it's probably just the same fucking thing in my complete honesty. And if anything, I think stuff like this is kind of worse because it's presenting itself as something that is legitimate whilst it's still having the same dynamics of what happens in the trenches, right? So I certainly wouldn't be picking this up, but just to point out, if you've been on this gravy train and got off of that, and fair play, because you've turned out some significant like returns over the past couple of weeks. Virtual's ecosystem has been absolutely cooking. Loads of stuff has been doing significant numbers every single day. This CoinGecko data isn't accurate. There's been a lot of stuff that has launched from significantly smaller market cap than is presented on here and has actually done some serious numbers. I know there's a lot of people who've been playing the whole virtuals game and virtual points game and kind of like allocating to all these and committing to all these early projects and doing really, really well. So yeah, that's been happening as well. Those guys have kind of bounced off the bottom really, really well. I've been really impressed with how they've kind of dug themselves out of that situation, which they found themselves losing a little bit of mind share, and now they're back. So yeah, Virtuals has been absolutely thriving. What like an ecosystem, they've kind of really, really, really held their own, particularly through all of this. And they've gamified it really, really well, and there's been a lot of good opportunities there. So that's another one that's been absolutely cooking. If you haven't been looking, then you won't have been granting yourself exposure to a lot of this. One kind of left field that has been just on a slow cook is the Avalanche ecosystem. So I recently checked out the Avalanche Arena, which kind of started off as this friend tech competitor and then has turned into this absolute monster social where it's got like stages. You can kind of buy and sell people's keys or shares or whatever the fuck they want to call them. It's basically the best social app other than Twitter, in my opinion. Really, really, really good. Impressed with what they've actually built. And in that, what they've done is being able to figure out a way for anyone to be able to launch a token, which goes to like their Arena swap, I believe it's called, so Arena Dex. And then from there, people can launch tokens in this kind of like Monitoring Curve style format. And there's been some tokens that have done significant numbers, which I'm a little bit butthurt about because I've missed a lot of them. And let's have a little quick look at them. So yeah, ID in the past months went up to 40 million. Lambo in the past 2 days is off 30 million. Mini Spaghettini it's at 13 million. So these are doing really, really well. There's been a token called Ket, which has been again on a slow cook. It's had two like significant runs now, and it's currently just topped out at 580 million. So there is opportunity everywhere, and much better time and effort and money spent elsewhere, particularly at this kind of late stage of the Pump.fun game, in my opinion. My preferred option at the minute, as you might have guessed, is the early opportunities on Hyperliquid and HyperEVM. I have been tweeting like a madman about Liquid, so LIQD. I just think that when you've got a really early ecosystem, you need a place for people to trade. And again, just to kind of bring it up, this Liquid launch is the DEX aggregator of the HyperEVM, so it acts as Jupiter, but then it also acts as the Pump.fun. So if you do want to satisfy that itch in an environment that isn't heavily gamified and the game isn't kind of figured out just yet, because there are a load of anti-creator cheat dynamics, a lot of nice innovations that make it still a simple product, but without overcomplicating it too much. So been incessantly posting about this, just posting the same thing and changing the market cap since 29 million market cap, and it is currently sat at 87. So again, could have entered this with significant size. It actually just space needled there to 0.98. So just about to hit like 98 million. So a nice 3.3x there. And all the while you're doing this, as I say, I cover this Hyperliquid video, which again is in the description or should be in the top right. You're still being exposed to the HyperEVM and interacting with applications and touching lots of different contracts and interacting with a lot of different protocols, and you yield on your hype, buying some tokens in a less crowded environment, which seems to be doing really, really well, I will point out, and it is still very early, in my opinion. And all the while, you are granting yourself exposure to this potential second airdrop, which could be the most significant in the space. That's my opinion. That's how I'm doing it. That's where my attention is and focus is currently. And as I say, just another reminder, you can go and watch that latest video and see what the most effective strategy is for distributing your capital across that ecosystem. So final points, you don't need to burn through all your chips chasing 100x, because you certainly will. I've done it before myself. You just keep trying to do this behavior that got you some significant returns in the past, and the game has already been figured out, and it's just a fool's errand, honestly. Take it from me, who's made it all, lost it all, made it all again, and then managed to keep it. Don't do it, because you will go into this weird kind of tilt spiral where you just continue to like click the same buttons that you've clicked in the past and expect like a different result, and it just never really comes. So, and what are you going to do when you hit the 100x? You're probably going to round trip it if you fast cycle anyway. So you might, as well go and do something that's going to take less time and effort, and you want to be kind of compounding like smaller, significant time. Like you're not going to like hit this mythical wealth number, this mythical net worth, and then be like, all right, I'm done now. I've conquered the markets. I've like figured out I'm just going to go and sit the cash in my bank. You're always going to be like investing and putting your money to work if you're already in this game already, because you've shown a propensity to want to bet yourself and want to put your money to work. And once you understand how that wealth creation is made, you understand that it isn't just like one hit and hope and one lottery ticket win, that it's a continual game for over decades, and you probably never stop playing it. It just comes in different forms. Maybe it goes a little more safer bets, maybe it comes off, maybe it goes into property, blah, 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 blah. But you'll never stop playing the game, right? Because you understand how it works, which is a lot more than the vast majority of people on Earth. So, don't play at the Sharks table. Just go and play at the Dum Dums table with me. Go and find the earlier environments where the niche hasn't been discovered and it hasn't been figured out. And then once it grows, you're already set. You're already in the opportunity. Like we were buying Bonk at like 15 million in the end of 2023. So that's the kind of like places you want to be set up at. And yes, sometimes they never run, but you can kind of see, judging by the bridge flows and judging by the activity on there, and there's uptick, and you kind of see by that aggregator token chart that I've just brought up from Liquid Launch, people are paying attention. And if you do the comps to early Solana ecosystem, it's significant. Next video, Hyperliquid trenches. What can you take from your understanding of the Solana trenches and bring it over to the HyperEVM? Tools to use, bots to use, how to kind of which filters to use on Define and Deck Screener and stuff like that, because there are a few differences and there are a few similarities. So I'll go through that, my kind of setup, my strategies, which bots I'm currently using, which trading bots, platforms, how to spot early opportunities, all that good stuff. So you do want that, because like, subscribe, even put the bell on notification when I see the video, so you can get that little head start on everyone else as well. And yeah, thanks everyone who's been subscribing recently and sending the video out. We're seeing like a big, huge uptake on these kind of videos. So like, thanks very much. Again, if you want a hat, we need to know which ones we want to do. This is grey, black, cream. Give us a message on the Blockmates main account. Just type hat, and we're going to do another run. Maybe we'll just do the ape instead. Who knows? Let us know what you want. But we're going to do another run. So if you message on the main account, we can actually get some destinations to send them out for people. So yeah, thanks a lot. We'll see you on the next one. Again, you've got the Hyperliquid videos in the description. Over now.
Quick one, nothing here is financial advice. It's for entertainment and educational purposes only. Always do your own research or speak to a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.